This is my review of the Beach Boys album All Summer Long. It was released in 1964 and produced by Brian Wilson. So the copy of All Summer Long I have is one of the two for CDs, so it's along with Little Deuce Coupe. For that reason, I think I've never really listened to this album as much as maybe I should have, which I don't know, because listening to it today, this is actually kind of one of the few Beach Boys albums that I've listened to on its own a lot, because since I had Little Deuce Coupe before it, Little Deuce Coupe's never been an album that I've listened to as a whole. I've always just listened to individual songs off of it that I liked, since it has so many, repeat songs from their other albums. So whenever I listen to All Summer Long, instead of letting this album play all the way through, usually I just skip to I Get Around, the first song. Well, so my opinion of it's always kind of been that it has kind of a really strong beginning and then kind of a weaker second half. I think my overall opinion of it's basically stayed pretty much the same on doing this review, or on doing this listen through for this review, but still just not one of the albums of theirs that I've listened to as much as some of the others, but I do really like a lot of it. The first song, it says I Get Around, I think it's a great opening track, just great vocals from the whole band, especially just all Brian's parts on the song are just so good. I think one of the best like songs from this kind of early surfish period, I guess, from them, because I would almost consider this album kind of like the culmination of their kind of early surf and car stuff, even though there's not really a lot of car stuff on here. But it feels like kind of this is kind of like the peak of that era, and then the next stuff they start to do is just a little bit different. But yeah, just a great song, kind of a classic Beach Boys song. The second song, the title track, All Summer Long, is a Brian and Mike song, which I Get Around also was. Another great track, just great vocals, really catchy song. Not a lot to say about it, but I like it a lot. The third song, Hushabye, is a cover, and it's actually probably my favorite song on the album, and that's mainly just all because of the vocals in it. I don't know if another band did it, or if I heard the original version. I honestly don't know if I'd like it at all, but just what they do with their vocals on this track is just it's crazy. It blows my mind every time I hear this one, and just they're singing so crazy good on it that it's definitely probably my favorite song on the album, just based on the vocals alone. The fourth song, Little Honda, another Brian and Mike song. It's about a bike, so kind of not a car song, but sort of like a car song, I guess. And it's a cool song. It has the Dennis kind of yells go at the beginning of it, and then it goes in. It's a fun, kind of energetic song, and I do think that it kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just the lyrics, but it does make me think of I had this kind of Honda bike like that growing up, that I didn't ride it, but I would have people would drive me on it occasionally, and it kind of does make me think of that. So probably just the title and the lyrics, but I guess the music makes me think of it too, just the way it sounds and stuff. The fifth song, Will Run Away, is a Brian and Gary Usher song. It's a nice ballad, another great Brian vocal on it. I like the organ parts on it. I think they sound pretty cool. I think it's probably Brian playing that, not sure. But just a really nice, pretty song. The sixth song, Carl's Big Chance, instrumental by Carl and Brian, and it's not extremely memorable. I like I think some of the guitar playing from Carl's cool on it. I think it's cool to listen to this one and then listen to some of the instrumentals that they did on their second album, Surfing USA, because the production's just improved so much, and this sounds so much better than any of those did, just from a production standpoint. but it's a cool song, not too bad. It doesn't like break the momentum of the album for me, because pretty much up to this point it's been like a perfect album. The seventh song, Windy, another Brian and Mike song, and another great song. It's really cool the way it starts. Great vocals. Really like the sound of the guitars in this song. Just for some reason, they sound really cool. So then the eighth song for me is kind of where this album starts to hit its problems. Eighth song, Do You Remember? Another Brian and Mike song. And from what I've read from other people, this song does seem to get looked down on a little bit, get some hate. And I understand why. It's kind of mediocre, especially like lyric wise, but I don't hate it. I kind of like the sound of some of it, so for me it sort of works because it's, I don't know, it's kind of energetic enough that it just goes by and I'm like, okay, that was fine. So it doesn't really kill the momentum of the album too much, but not a great song. The ninth song, Girls on the Beach, I think is better than Do You Remember. I think this was just written by Brian. Not quite on the level, I don't think, of all the songs that came before this. So like from I Get Around to Windy, well, except for Carl's Big Chance. I keep forgetting that's kind of in there, but the instrumental, not really going to count that. But aside from like all those albums before this song and Do You Remember are on like a slightly different level, and then like Do You Remember is like 2 levels below that, or 3 or 4 or something, and this is like kind of in between those levels. I'm kind of rambling, but it's not a bad song, but it's kind of not as great as some of the earlier songs, but I still like it quite a bit. It has a cool vocal part from Dennis kind of in the middle that comes in that stands out some. The 10th song, Drive-In, another Brian and Mike song, and it's another song that's like, it's kind of cheesy, kind of dumb, but I actually kind of like this one because I just find it funny for some reason. But I think a lot of people probably won't, and I can see, understand criticism of it. The 11th song, Our Favorite Recording Session, isn't a song. It's another one of those weird like talking sketch things that they did. They'd done one like before this on Shutdown Volume 2, I think. And yeah, it's just, it kind of kills the flow of the album. That's been, you know, other than having some weaker songs towards the, well, like 1 weaker song, well, no, like 2 weak songs at this point. Still was a pretty good album, like going really strong for like almost perfect, but this kind of just really kills a lot of the momentum of the album, and I really wish that they had just kind of either left it off or made it the last thing on the album, because I don't know, it kind of just like takes you out of it, the album so much that then the last song, Don't Back Down, by the time it comes on, it's like I kind of always forget about this one because it's just like the flow of the album gets interrupted so much by this little skit thing. So I mean, like normally I would probably skip it if I was just listening to this for like enjoyment and not to review it, but anyway, so the 12th and final song, Don't Back Down, is one that actually I like, but kind of, it's probably like the only song ever where Brian's vocal part kind of like comes a little close to irritating me. On the part where he sings like Guts, he kind of gets a little like little on the like irritating side, but other than that, I think it's a really good song, or like a pretty good song, so a good way to end the album. Overall, I think I give the album a 4 out of 5. It's just not, it's not quite perfect because it's got a couple weaker tracks on it, and it's got Our Favorite Recording Session, which is just kind of a waste of time, and it just interrupts the flow of the album right at the end. And so all summer long, definitely recommend checking it out. Like I said, I feel like it's kind of like the album culmination of like the early like surf and stuff, just like the early sound. Like this is where that kind of like peaked, I feel like. So definitely a pretty good album. Probably not one of my favorites, but definitely one to check out.